What up, fellas?
How are you?
JK.
What were your top 2 or 3 takeaways from the Commanders scrimmage with the Pats on Wednesday at Foxborough?
Let's see. Terry McLaurin would help.
Yeah.
But that's something we've seen throughout training camp. And listen, it's kind of obvious when you're missing your top receiver, and then even another one in Noah Brown. Like, that would make a difference, and it does. And Zach Ertz can still play. Like, Jaden Daniels is still, makes very good decisions and is accurate. Like, those things jumped out. Defensively, I thought they would. They have had a really good summer. I think they will be an improved unit. I felt like at times it wasn't their best, and whether it's pass rush, at times maybe not quite as effective. Some of the coverage, I wouldn't call it breakdowns, but just, not, losing your guy a little bit. But I don't think that's, I'm not concerned about that after one joint session, because you don't know you don't know what they're trying to do. You don't know what they're trying to accomplish, what they're calling or why, et cetera. But, most of it though, to me, a lot of it is just individuals, right? That's kind of what I focus on in those things too, a lot.
So defensively, in particular, the secondary, that's, they made a lot of changes in the offseason.
Right.
And then Lattimore, even though they acquired him last year, this is a big year. So do you think the secondary is going to be considerably better?
Yeah, I definitely do. And part of it, because, listen, Trey Amos is a good corner, is going to be a good corner. And, I know a couple years ago, Emmanuel Forbes was here, and I think people wanted him to be a good corner, but you saw way more inconsistencies. And sometimes you might overlook some of those to see okay, well, there he's around the ball or this, but with Amos, there's a consistency to his game. He will be, clearly he's going to give up a few catches because they all do, but there is a patience and maturity to the way he plays and his ability to play press. So I think, they have more ability to play different coverage, with, at times with St. Juste in that group, St. Juste was I would not call him a confident corner. So you get into tight situations, and I think it results in penalties, big plays allowed, et cetera. I don't think these guys are going to shrink from that moment at all. That's not, it doesn't feel like it's in their DNA. The question will be, and I think Sam Russell inside will be very good. He's had a good summer. The other day, the Pats got him on a few crossers, but I'm not really worried about him because he showed what he could do. I think he's a good corner. The key will be Lattimore and what level he plays at and if he's durable. And we were talking to him afterwards, and he's talked about the burst being back, et cetera, but what he's trying to get back to is consistent technique, and that's really footwork. And I don't think he's quite there yet with that. As he pointed out, he's missed a lot of time the last 3 years, and that impacts all of that. So can he get that back? But I do think that group gives you a better ability, and I think the safeties are smart. I think that helps too. But I think that group gives you the ability to play different style of coverages and allows you to play that Joe Witt wants to be press man, and it allows you to do different things with your pressures off of that.
John, I listen to a lot of your stuff. I take a lot of what you say, your observations, very seriously, and I lock it in and I regurgitate a lot of it. To be honest with you, I try to credit you always, John. But one guy that I haven't heard a lot about, and I feel like in a lot of ways defensively they're kind of building all around him, is Kinlaw, who I kind of characterized as, let's be honest, a bit of a career underachiever, and we're giving him a bunch of money. Maybe it's not that much relative to the position for other stars, but still, for a career underachiever, kind of building the defense around him, and I haven't heard much about him. Is that just they're just laying low and just haven't had a real opportunity for him to shine, or what's going on with him?
So a couple of things. One, I don't think they're building the defense around him. He's not that level, right? I never have gotten that sense. I think what he does, so there are a couple of things. The other day,
all I hear is he's big. That's all I ever hear.
He's definitely big, right? He's definitely big. So there are a couple of things, they are moving him around along the line. So, there are times in there when they play their big 3 defensive tackle set, he might be as an end. Other times he's just strictly a tackle. I've seen him line up over the center a couple times in the pass rush situations. So he's lined up all over the place. You see it at times. There are definitely times where, in the past, he's had a tendency to get too upright on some plays, especially when it ends. And I've seen that a little bit. That's something he's going to have to get out of. I don't, the salary thing, like he's 5.3 on the cap this year, and I think next year it's a little over 16. So this is a play it forward contract, right? Like they feel like he's just now ascending, and we'll see if they're right. And the reason why they say that goes back to he had dealt with a lot of injuries in San Francisco, and the last couple of years he's been healthier. And so I think they feel like that will help in the off season too. Whether or not, we'll see if they're accurate, right? We'll find out. But I can't say that, I would say the defensive line, and when you're looking at D-line, like Dorrance Armstrong is a guy that's jumped out in camp to me more because how they're using him and what he can do. And, watching Von Miller, Luvu, guys like that. I think with Kinlaw is another piece to that puzzle. I wouldn't say anything about building it around him, though. I don't think he's to that level. But I think it's more just can you add that size inside, and what does that look like against the run? And then I think he has good quickness when he gets off the ball at times, and then sometimes you see it. It's like maybe you get caught in that stutter stepping a little bit too much. So can you get him to be consistent? That will be a key for them up front. But so.
John, do people need to pump the brakes on Bill Krosky-Merritt, the 7th-round running back, or is he a true threat to carve out a decent-sized role when the regular season starts in, by the way, less than a month at this point?
Dude, I'm already wondering who's going to present him in Canton. What are you talking about? I think part of the thing is there's more intrigue with him and more mystery to him. And, what I think you see traits, but let's see how it plays out. We haven't seen him get tackled yet. We haven't seen him try to avoid a tackle yet. We've seen it, even in those joint sessions, you're not taking guys to the ground. So tonight will be the first time we get to see that. But I think you see good traits, but what does that mean? I don't know yet. I'd say, to this point, you see some good things, but this is a big step tonight and to what he can do. Can he make guys miss? Can he break tackles? How does it look? And I think he's becoming, I think he'll be better than Lake Seastrunk, guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the things that I like about him when you watch him on film. And again, the problem is he only played one game at Arizona, so we're extrapolating a lot here. And I think this is where the intrigue and the mystery is with him, is you don't know at a high level what he's going to look like. But you saw the violent runs, violent finishes, lowering his shoulder at the end, quick, decisive cuts, good vision, all of that. But we don't know how it's going to translate to the NFL because we just haven't seen it. And when you're in practice, you guys, you can be fooled by a lot of things by backs because they're not taking you to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times in the past where a guy might make a cut, it's like, oh, that's a good cut. And then you get in the game and he doesn't make the same cut, or he's getting drilled, or maybe he's making the guy miss. And so that's what we don't know. But there are definitely signs where you say, okay, definitely intriguing for sure.
All right, so let's talk about the Terry thing just for a second. In this sense, I hear all of you guys that are there, Daly, JP, and Nikki, and you, and all you guys, that Zach Ertz is still Zach Ertz. As you touched on earlier, Jaden looks like he's still Jaden and probably a better grasp of everything and only going to get better. But that, and Debo, if he stays healthy, looks like he's still Debo, right? As long as he's healthy. But that on the whole, without Terry, and then you add insult to injury and even not have like a Noah Brown, that it's somewhat of an anemic passing game, right? Those guys are good, the other guys, but they're not. There's no big game threat.
They're not Terry. Yeah, they're not Terry. And that, if you took the top receiver off a lot of teams, it's going to make a difference. And not just top one, but Noah Brown is one of their top three right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, you take those two guys out, and, I would say Terry is going to be there this season, whether it's on an extension or playing out his current deal. He played Noah Brown. We don't know because he has an injury history. He's coming back from the knee. and you haven't seen a lot of him this summer. But I think what you also see are guys get elevated to different spots because of it, right? Like Luke McCaffrey working a lot more on the outside when he's probably better inside. Or I think a guy that to me that's intriguing to watch throughout the preseason, of course, is Jalen Lane. And he's got the speed, and can you use him in ways to accentuate that speed as he's learning the NFL routes, right? And running with the details of the NFL. But he's one where it's like, okay, let's see, how do guys like Gallup and KJ Osborne, guys who could be at that back end of the receiver group, how do they look? But yeah,
nothing about Gallup. Like, he doesn't seem to be jumping out to anybody.
Early on, I felt he was, and then it's just kind of been quiet. So yeah, but I think when you get those two guys in there, Brown and McLaurin, that there's better depth than there was a year ago because, especially, so I like,
especially adding Debo.
Correct. Exactly. And Debo's a better version of what they've had. Right. And the thing, and this is like with Debo, even there are definitely times where he gets the ball and the guy comes up. It's what I say, like, corner comes up and it's like, oh, I'll just two-hand tap you. I would have had you. And he's probably thinking, the hell you would have. I would have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's things that he's going to show. But yeah, the rest of the group, I think there's still questions about him. But when the group is all together and, if a guy like Chris Moore makes it, and I'm not sure, like, there's inconsistencies there, right? When you're right now, he's playing in McLaurin's role. Well, that's not what he would do if he makes the roster. So, but it's not, you're not seeing anybody else really jump out and say like, hey, announcing their presence, so to speak. But I think the one that I'm more intrigued by is Jalen Lane, just because of speed and, ability on punt returns, but that speed is something you want to tap into.
John, with most, if not all, of the starters sidelined tonight for the Pats preseason opener against the Commanders, tonight would have been a great spot for Jordan McGee to kind of showcase himself.
Right.
But he didn't make the trip. He was sparsely used as a rookie because of injuries, had a hard time getting on the field. Same thing is kind of happening now. What's the latest on him? I know the injury is undisclosed unless something's happened recent. What's his prognosis as far as making the roster and getting back out on the field?
Yeah, he'll be on the roster. And I don't believe, even Dan Quinn said nobody has anything serious. So I don't think this is anything that's going to keep him out a while. But I still think he's got a spot because you don't have anybody who really can do what he's doing. He just has to stay healthy. But when he does, they'll use him when they go to 3 linebacker sets. Now, it depends on the Packs. Like, if you're facing heavy personnel and you want 3 linebacker sets, he'll be on the field. And, and I think, when he's out there, he looks solid, right? He looks like he'd be able to develop and help. And then special teams. So I still think he'll be out there because, again, he's the guy that if something happened to Bobby Wagner right now would go in. And I think he's the guy that would eventually be the replacement down the road, right? Yeah. But he's got, you want to see him stay healthy because I think last year they said they had him in a couple packages. They were excited about him, and then he had a couple of injuries. So that's the only question with him, but I don't believe it's anything serious.
Do you think any starters will play tonight? Maybe a few?
Maybe a couple. The other day it was obviously very unlikely to play, but you may have some, if you want to get, and I would not consider Josh Connolly yet a starter because right now, when the starters when all the line is there, aside from Cosme, Andrew Wiley's typically been going in at right tackle. So, but Connolly eventually will be a guy that would play, but you want to see him play more. So, I don't, again, not yet a starter, but a guy who would play a key role at some point. And so maybe guys like that where you don't have as much experience. I don't know that they would play a Trey Amos. I think he's looked really good, and he covered Stephon Diggs a few times the other day. Did a nice job. I don't know that you're going to really. They know what they have in him. They're very well aware. Right. So I think if any of those starters play, it would be just because you want more reps. And I don't know who else that would be because most of the starters are experienced guys.
Gotcha.
John, thanks for the time as always. Enjoy the weekend and have fun watching preseason game number 1. It's just about 12 hours
we'll
away.
Talk to you next week, JK.
Thanks,
All right,
John.
guys.
All right, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
It's John Keim, who covers the Commanders for ESPN.com. When we come back, we will take your calls at 800-636-1067. What are you looking for tonight as the Commanders take the field for the first time in the preseason against the Patriots? It sounds like most of the starters will not play, so you won't see Jaden Daniels. You're not going to see Brian Robinson. You're not going to see Laramie Tunsil. But you're probably going to see Bill Krosky-Barrett at running back. You're probably going to see, as John touched on, Josh Connerly on the offensive line. What are you specifically looking for the first preseason game? We'll take your calls on that next here on The Fan.